For centuries, an incredible mystery was just hidden, shrouded in the jungles of Central America. A whole world of stone cities, literally swallowed by trees and vines, hinting at a civilization so grand it just seemed impossible. This is the story of the Maya, but not as a lost people. It's the story of one of history's most resilient cultures.
Okay, so try to imagine this. You're a Spanish soldier back in 1576. You're hacking your way through this jungle that feels like it's going to swallow you whole, and then you see it. Towering stone pyramids and plazas that would rival anything back in Europe. When Diego Garcia de Palacio stumbled on the ruins of Copan, he was just floored, but he was also completely baffled. He basically wrote back to the king saying, look, the local people I know, they couldn't have built this. It's just too sophisticated, too magnificent. And that report, it kicked off the two big questions that would echo for hundreds of years. Who were the master architects behind these jungle metropolises? And, what in the world could have happened to make them just vanish, leaving all their incredible creations behind for the forest to take back?
So, when the first Europeans got there, let's be honest, they were looking for conquest and gold. But what they found was something else entirely. Real, solid evidence of a colossal power that had already risen and fallen long before they ever set foot in this world.
And we're not talking about a few huts here, no way. These were full-blown urban centers. They saw pyramids that seemed to scrape the sky, huge public squares, and these stone monuments covered in the most intricate carvings of kings, queens, and these beastly, powerful gods that looked like they were staring right back at them.
So, how do you even begin to solve a mystery like this? Well, for the longest time, the answer was literally right there, carved on every single monument, but nobody could understand it. The key was their writing system. To really get the Maya, we first had to learn how to read their story, in their own words.
And let me tell you, cracking that code completely flipped everything we thought we knew on its head. For decades, the theory was that these glyphs were just mystical records of planets and dates, made by some peaceful, stargazing priests. But the reality? Whoa, it was a million miles from that. This wasn't just astronomy, this was history. A detailed written record of royal families, intense political drama, and incredibly brutal wars fought for total domination. And the writing system was just so incredibly advanced. It's what we call a logo-syllabic script. That means it's a mix of symbols that stand for whole words, kind of like a logo, and other symbols that stand for sounds or syllables. It was a complete system, totally capable of expressing any complex idea, just like our own alphabet. All right, so with the code broken, the doors to the classic Maya world, we're talking roughly from 250 to 900 AD, just burst wide open. And the civilization we found on the other side was even more extraordinary than the ruins had hinted at. This new understanding revealed some serious intellectual firepower. I mean, get this, the Maya independently developed and mastered the concept of zero. That is a massive abstract leap in math that even the Romans never figured out. And that one little innovation allowed them to create one of the most accurate calendars in the ancient world and do these incredibly complex astronomical calculations. And just to give you a sense of their scale, think about this. Around 800 AD, while kings in Britain were ruling over little towns of maybe a few hundred people, Maya super cities like Tikal were home to 50,000 people, maybe more. These were huge, bustling centers and a landscape that was almost entirely developed. Their whole world was defined by these massive cities, all connected by huge farms and these amazing engineering projects, like their famous white roads. And you have to remember, they did all of this without pack animals like horses or oxen, without using the wheel for transport, and without any metal tools. It was all done with pure human power, stone, and just sheer ingenuity. It's mind-boggling. Which, of course, brings us right back to the big mystery. If they were this powerful, this advanced, why did it all end? Well, the answer isn't just one thing. It was a devastating one-two punch that played out over centuries. The first blow, believe it or not, was kind of self-inflicted, and it happened long before any Europeans showed up. Around the 9th century, their society in the southern lowlands just went into a terminal decline. It was a total systems collapse, like a perfect storm of long, intense droughts, major environmental damage from cutting down too many trees, and just constant draining warfare that made people lose faith in their divine kings. So the people just walked away from the great cities. The second blow came about 600 years later. The Spanish arrival wasn't a quick thing. It was a grueling, bloody conquest that dragged on for almost 200 years.
The Maya, even though their political world had changed, they fought back fiercely. The very last independent Maya kingdom didn't actually fall until 1697.
But the deadliest weapon the Spanish brought with them wasn't steel swords or guns. It was disease. Sicknesses like smallpox were common in Europe, but they were totally new to the Americas. And the result was a demographic catastrophe. Some estimates suggest that up to 90% of the indigenous population was wiped out. It was effectively a biological apocalypse. And on top of the unbelievable loss of life came a very deliberate campaign of cultural destruction. In 1562, a man named Bishop Diego de Landa, in this single act of religious zeal, gathered up and burned pretty much all of the Maya's priceless books. Centuries of their history, their science, their literature, all of it turned to ash.
So yeah, when you hear all that, it's pretty easy to see why this whole myth of a banished people took hold. But that is not where this story ends. Not even close. In fact, the most remarkable part of the Maya story isn't the collapse, it's the survival.
The Maya never disappeared. Today, there are over 6 million Maya people living in their ancestral homelands in Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras. They are not some relic of the past. They are a vibrant, living culture right now.
And their legacy endures in so many incredible ways. There are over 28 Mayan languages that are still spoken today. Ancient traditions in farming, weaving, and pottery are still being practiced. And now, Maya people themselves are right there, working alongside archaeologists, taking a leading role in uncovering and telling their own incredible history.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The story of the Maya isn't really a mystery about a lost civilization. It's an epic. It's an epic about collapse and conquest, sure, but most importantly, it's about profound survival against absolutely all odds. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we let go of these old myths and actually start listening to new voices, what other histories that we think we know or that we've just written off as lost are out there just waiting for us to finally understand their true story?